The city breathes at night. It's a living thing, a monster made of light and shadow. Streetlights bleed onto wet asphalt, painting the world in neon gold and electric blue. I walk through it all, a ghost in a trench coat. Each step is a quiet beat against the pavement, a lonely drum in a city that never sleeps. The air is cool, and it carries the distant wail of a siren, the murmur of 1,000 lives happening all at once. Somewhere I'm not. I pull my collar tighter, a small gesture against the vastness of it all. It's beautiful, in a heartbreaking kind of way, like a memory you can't quite hold on to. He used to say the city was our playground. Now it just feels like a stage, and I'm the only one on it. I see our reflections in shop windows, fleeting and transparent. There we are, laughing over nothing. There we are, hands tangled together. I trace the outline of a ghost on the cold glass, my breath fogging the surface. It disappears as quickly as it came. The city holds our echoes, our whispers. They follow me down every street, around every corner. I'm just trying to find my way back to the source of the sound, to the start of the song. From a window high above, he watches me go. I can't see him, but I feel his gaze. Like a soft weight, a gentle pressure. He's up there, surrounded by the same concrete and steel, breathing the same cool air. He probably has a cup of coffee in his hands, watching the tiny version of me navigate the world we built. He's thinking of me. I know it. It's a current that runs between us, an invisible string that stretches across blocks and avenues, pulling tight with every step I take away from him. A silent conversation that only our hearts can hear. His world is quiet without my laughter. His apartment, once a sanctuary, is now just a room with a view of me. He leans against the glass, his forehead cool against the pane. He remembers the warmth of my hand in his, the way my hair felt against his cheek. He sees my small figure turn a corner and disappear from sight. The city swallows me whole, and for a moment, the silence in his room is deafening. It's the loudest thing he's ever heard, a void where a melody used to be. He closes his eyes and tries to remember the rhythm. Our story wasn't written in grand gestures. It was composed in quiet moments, in small forgotten symphonies. I remember a Tuesday afternoon in a sun-drenched cafe. The air smelled like roasted coffee beans and old books. He was reading to me, his voice a low hum that vibrated through the wooden table. I wasn't listening to the words. I was just listening to him. His thumb stroked the back of my hand, a repetitive, soothing motion, a silent promise. In that small space, with the clatter of cups and the murmur of strangers, we were the only two people in the universe. It was our own perfect world. Then there were the nights we stole back from the city. We'd take our bikes and race through empty streets at 2 a.m. The world was ours. The wind was a wild song in our ears, and the streetlights were our personal spotlights. We'd end up in a deserted park, throwing our heads back to laugh at the moon. He'd grab my hand and we'd dance. No music, just the rhythm of our own breathing, the beat of our feet on the damp grass. It was clumsy and imperfect, and the most beautiful dance I've ever known. We were just two kids, dizzy with freedom and love. I remember our rooftop, our little patch of sky. We'd lie on a scratchy blanket, pointing out constellations we didn't know the names of. We made up our own. The serpent's kiss, the lost glove, the broken teacup. The city glowed beneath us, a galaxy of man-made stars. But we were looking up, at the real thing. His arm would be a warm, solid weight around my shoulders, and I'd rest my head on his chest. I could feel the steady, reassuring thrum of his heart against my ear. It was the best sound in the world, the sound of home. Mornings were the softest part of our symphony. Waking up tangled in sheets, the morning light painting stripes across the floor. We'd huddle together under a single blanket, sharing a mug of coffee because it was the only clean one left. His hair would be a mess, and I'd trace the sleep lines on his face. He'd kiss my forehead, a slow, gentle press of his lips. There were no words needed. The silence was full. It was full of understanding, of comfort, of a love so deep and quiet it filled every corner of the room. It was peaceful. And then, the music stopped. The day he left was grey. The sky was a flat, washed-out canvas. It didn't even have the decency to rain. We stood at the station, the air thick with things we couldn't say. The world rushed around us, announcements, whistles, the screech of metal on metal. But our little pocket of space was utterly silent. I held onto his hand like a lifeline, memorizing the feel of his fingers laced with mine. He looked at me, and his eyes held the entire story of us. A single tear escaped and traced a path down my cheek. He didn't wipe it away. He just watched it fall. He gave me a letter, a single folded piece of paper, and a photograph. A Polaroid of us on the rooftop, laughing, our faces blurry with joy. His train was coming. The final note in this part of our song. We didn't say goodbye. We just said, see you later. It felt like a lie. A beautiful, hopeful lie we both needed to believe. I watched the train pull away, getting smaller and smaller until it was just a speck. And then it was gone. I was alone on the platform, clutching a piece of paper and a ghost of a smile. The silence he left behind was a physical thing. Back in my apartment, the quiet was an intruder. Every creak of the floorboards, every drip of the faucet was amplified. His side of the bed was cold. His coffee mug sat unwashed by the sink. I unfolded the letter. His handwriting was a familiar landscape, a map I knew by heart. The words were simple. They were honest. They were him. He wrote about the stars and the bikes and the quiet mornings. He wrote that the silence was temporary, that the music wasn't over, it was just an intermission. He promised the symphony would play again, louder than before. I read that letter every night. It became my prayer, my mantra. I'd trace his signature with my finger, trying to feel him through the ink. I'd look at the photograph and remember the sound of his laugh. Some days the memory was a comfort, a warm blanket. On other days it was a sharp ache, a hollow space in my chest. I existed in the in-between, in the pause, waiting for the conductor to raise his baton, waiting for the first note to break the silence and bring our world back to life. I was just waiting for him. The reunion wasn't at a train station. It wasn't loud or cinematic. It was simple. It was perfect. I was walking in a field at sunset, the sky painted in strokes of orange and pink, and then he was there, standing at the edge of the trees, just watching me. I stopped. The world stopped. For a second, we just looked at each other across the distance, and then I ran. He met me halfway, and when he wrapped his arms around me, it felt like coming home. I buried my face in his chest and breathed him in. The silence was finally broken. He was here. He spun me around in the tall grass, and we laughed, a real full-bodied laugh that an entire city block had once held. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the first stars began to prick the deep blue canvas above. There was no music, just like before. But we danced anyway, a slow swaying dance in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't about the steps, it was about being in his arms again. It was about feeling the solid ground beneath my feet and knowing he was my anchor. The intermission was over. The symphony had begun its second act, more beautiful than the first. We ended up lying in that field, just like we did on our rooftop. The blanket was gone, replaced by cool earth and blades of grass. The city lights were a distant memory, a faint glow on the horizon. Above us, the Milky Way was a brilliant, shimmering river. He found my hand in the dark, and our fingers laced together, a perfect fit, a familiar comfort. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. We just watched the stars, feeling the vastness of the universe around us and the infinite universe between us. Everything we needed to say was in the pressure of his hand holding mine. In the profound quiet of the countryside, under a blanket of a million stars, I rested my head on his chest once more, and I heard it. The sound I had missed more than anything. The steady, strong, reassuring rhythm of his heart. It beat in time with my own, a synchronized, unspoken language. This was the music. This was the song. It wasn't in the city lights or the quiet cafes or the starlit rooftops. It was here. It was always here. Our love wasn't just part of the story. It was the rhythm, the constant, unwavering heartbeat of it all.